I am, guys, for the first 35 years of my life or so, I was incredibly prejudiced towards a lot of people. I did not have empathy for other human beings that were not just like me. It was taught to me. I was brought up around it. I feel terrible about it. And I've been doing everything I can since I really, truly became aware of how awful I was to turn it around and be a better human being. So I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys understanding.
You ever seen someone do a full 180? I'm talking about someone who used to hate, and now they teach love. This man used to be a full-blown racist, taught to fear us, taught to hate us. But something happened. He had a real coming to Jesus moment, and it changed everything. He let go of all that hate, unlearned everything he thought he knew about Black people, and now he's out here telling the truth about our history, our worth, and our strength. This story ain't just about him, it's about how truth can break chains. Watch this, and stay with me till the end, 'cause this message might just open your eyes in a whole new way.
I've been asked probably well over 1,000 times in the comments and messages why I chose to confront my own racism and my prejudice ideology. So I thought I'd just have an honest conversation with you and break it down over a few parts and let you see into the mind of someone like me, the way I grew up, and the man I'm becoming. Now, here's the crazy thing. I've only ever known one racist in my life for sure, and that's me, because I can't speak into the hearts and minds of another human being and what they think and feel. That's not fair. That's prejudicial of me. So I'm the only one I've ever known, so I feel I can speak with authority about this. I'm not calling out other people who are. This is simply about my evolution and the things I confronted and some of the difficulties and some of the beautiful parts of this. This is not an easy thing for me to do. This is kind of laying my soul bare. Now, why is it I grew up with so much prejudice and bias and discrimination in my life? Well, I grew up in a small town in Arkansas, and I am Arkansas proud. Let me just say that right off the top. But I grew up with people who taught me these things, and it was instilled in me. I mean, it was just reinforced over and over. And then for the most part, I lived in an echo chamber of other people who thought the same thing. So I didn't know it was possible to think any other way. I was raised Christian. I cannot explain to you why my faith in God, my morality, and my racism took so long to cross paths. I can't explain it, but it probably took about 40 years to figure that out. There's a whole series of events in my life, I guess, ultimately that led up to this. And prison was probably one of the biggest catalysts, because when you're on 23-1 lockdown with someone of a different color from you in the same cell, you shut your mouth and you listen. You ask questions. And I had so many different cellmates from different countries, from different races and heritages. And it just really opened my mind. And sitting in prison, I had a lot of time to think. And I had some old timers tell me I need to do my time. Don't let my time do me. And those are good words of advice. But I started digging deep into myself and my flaws, and because I was probably the biggest asshole I knew at that time, and I wasn't proud of that at all. And I knew I needed to change if I wanted to live a productive and healthy life and just be somebody likable. I just couldn't see the world for the way it really was. And that breaks my heart that it took me so long to see it. But the beauty that is born from this change, Amir, this growth is just crazy. God is amazing. At one time, I very much was the enemy. So I think it's important that you can see sometimes into the mindset of somebody like I was, so maybe that we can better understand it going forward. And again, these are just my experiences, my opinions, and my thoughts. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that I had prejudice and bias and discrimination and bigotry inside me. I knew this. Understanding that it was wrong and accepting that my character was flawed was way more difficult. People see what they want to see. I'm absolutely guilty of that. I only sought out information that further proved my ideology the way I thought, no matter how wrong it was. But I did this over and over, and it just further reinforced in my head that what I was reading and hearing was true. Accepting that you have a massive character flaw is not easy for anybody of any race or gender. It sucks, but you have to admit it. You have to confront that the way you think is harmful and hurtful, and it's not healthy, and it's not accurate of all things. So I realized the first step was admitting it. The second step was learning to forgive myself. White guilt and forgiveness. One of the most challenging things on this journey of trying to deconstruct my own racism is learning to forgive myself. That is a very difficult thing to do for most anybody, especially when it's a burden that you carry around so heavy that you don't know how to break it down. Again, these are my thoughts, my experiences, and my opinions only. And while I can't tell you how to learn to forgive yourself for something because it's different for everybody, it's absolutely crucial if you want to grow. I had to admit it to myself. I had to be accountable to myself. And then I had to put in the work. And that involves a lot of introspection, a lot of prayer. It's just something you can't take your foot off the gas of. You know what I mean? Forgiving myself doesn't absolve me of the things I've got to work out. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But until you forgive yourself, it's really hard to move forward. And the biggest thing I struggle with initially is what we call white guilt. And that looks different to probably everybody, because I was really concerned. I spent a lot of time thinking about it and praying about it, because if I did this out of some sort of guilt, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be sincere. And I realized and came to the conclusion, once I had forgiven myself, that I had thrown that yoke off me. Now I'm just free to love. I'm just free to grow and be open-minded and experience all these new things with an open and transparent heart. Racism is not a switch you can flip on and off. It doesn't work that way. It's a long process that takes a lot of commitment.
Now, after he faced the truth, he had to face himself. He said the hardest part wasn't just admitting he was wrong, it was forgiving himself. Dealing with that white guilt, that shame, it almost broke him. But instead of running from it, he leaned into it. He realized healing ain't instant. Racism ain't some light switch you flip on or off. It's deep, it's learned, and unlearning it, that takes real work, real commitment. So he made a choice. He didn't just want to be not racist. He wanted to be anti-racist. And that meant doing more than just changing how he thought. It meant teaching. It meant telling the truth, our truth, about Black history, about what really happened, about how we built so much of this world while being told we were nothing. And he says now, for the first time in his life, he feels free, free to grow, free to love, free to be open-minded.
If you're really committed to being a racist in this country, you can't unsee what I'm about to show you. You might want to start checking Amazons for blankets, because this gas furnace behind me, you don't get to have one of those either, because that was invented by a Black woman named Alice Parker around 1920. She received a patent on it. Yeah, that's how we stay warm today. I mean, if you love potato chips, they gotta go, because a man named George Crumb, a chef in New York, had sent French fries out with a meal and a customer complained. So what did Mr. Crumb do? He sliced potatoes so thin, fried them up, dumped a bunch of salt on them, and sent them out. And that is the American delight of potato chips. They gotta go. Here in the bathroom, Lotta Newman patented the first hairbrush with synthetic bristles in 1898. And she's just the third Black American woman to ever receive a patent. Now, I know this isn't going to affect those skinheads very much. In 1892, George Sampson of Dayton, Ohio, received patent number 476,416 for what is the forerunner of the modern dryer we use today. It's going to suck dry on your clothes outside. In the late 1880s, Samuel Scottron of Pennsylvania patented the curtain rod. Ooh, that's going to piss off some white girls. It's going to be really hard to plan racist rallies without a color monitor. Invented by Mark Dean, an engineer at IBM, he is also on 3 of the original 9 patents of the IBM PC that came out in 1981. Did you know in 1897, Albert Crowell in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, developed the mechanized ice cream scoop. You know, the click, click that separates the ice cream from the spoon, changing the way ice cream is served. And if you're racist and an ice cream lover, it's going to get worse. I told you it's going to get worse. Augustus Jackson, the father of ice cream, pioneered many of the methods we have today to enjoy ice cream, including the way we salt it. Another thing about being a racist, you're going to have to give up the freezer and frozen foods, because Frederick McKinley Jones of Ohio, who was orphaned at 9 years old with a 6th grade education, a young biracial boy, grew up to invent Thermo King, which is the reason why we have frozen foods that are shipped and stored in stores and our homes. You got to give up ice cream and frozen pieces? So if you still want to be a racist, there are some things you're going to need to purge from your life. If you would, just put it out on the curb. I'll send some trucks around to pick it up, and we'll go give it to real Americans who really need it. Do you see that little doohickey on the wall right there, that little white thing? That's called your thermostat. That's how you control your AC. That was invented by David Crossway, who got his engineering degree right here in Indiana at Purdue University. He's so cold, he designed the heating system for Radio City Music Hall and Rockefeller Center. Sorry, racists, no AC this summer. This is really going to mess your shit up. The porcelain toilet as we know it was designed by Thomas Elkins in 1872. Hey, come here. How many racists does it take to change a light bulb? None. They don't want to be enlightened. Which is too bad, because the carbon filament in the light bulb that we've grown up and used, that lights up really bright, was invented by Lewis Latimer, who's one of the chief engineers for Thomas Edison, and he helped design the telephone with Alexander Graham Bell. I mean, you can't even do something as simple as open the door, because that door handle was patented in 1878 by Osborne Dorsey. Yeah, sorry guys. I guess you probably were raised in a barn. And if you think you want to call all your buddies to come meet you at the laundromat so you can wash your white sheets together, because let's face it, if you're still a racist, you don't have a dryer, you don't have a gas furnace heater, you don't have a thermostat to control your AC, you can't open your doors without a doorknob, and you especially cannot call your buddies without the cell phone. You're going to have to get rid of these, like I said, because Henry Sampson, a black genius inventor, patented and invented the gamma ray process, which uses radio waves to transmit and receive audio signals, which is what makes cell phones able to communicate with each other, and changed all our lives significantly. Listen, in all seriousness, if you still really, really are committed to being a racist, it's getting hard in the yard out here for y'all, because I've now made you aware of some things that you didn't know. And this is just a tiny tip of the iceberg of all the ways people of color have improved our lives in measurable and quantifiable ways. Our world would not be nearly as far along as it has without the inventions and contributions of all these Americans. So, again, I hope that this opens your eyes a little bit to how much white and black culture are actually intertwined in a good and great positive way. Have a great evening.
Now let's sit with this for a minute. Sometimes it takes people forever to face reality. And for this man, it took him over 40 years. 40 years to finally see the world, not through the lens he was handed, but through truth. See, when you've been raised around prejudice, fed bigotry like it's normal, and taught to see certain people as less than, breaking free from that is not easy, especially when all of that is wrapped in religion, family, and tradition. He grew up Christian, around folks who felt like they were living right, even while spreading hate. And when everybody around you believes the same lie, it don't feel like a lie, it feels like life. So yeah, he knew those racist ideas were inside of him, but what's wild is, he didn't know how wrong it was. Not really, because when you've been programmed from childhood, it's hard to see the poison in the cup when you've been drinking it your whole life. But here's what's powerful. He faced it. He looked in the mirror and said, "This ain't who I want to be." That's growth. That's transformation. And what's even more powerful? Once he started learning the truth about Black people, Black history, Black excellence, his whole world opened up. He said it himself, learning about the inventions we've made, the empires we built, the brilliance we carry. That gave him a joy he never had before. Now he's using his voice to tell others what he was never taught. Because let's be real, the world literally wouldn't function without Black innovation. We gave the world traffic lights, blood banks, refrigerators, home security systems, gas masks, and so much more. Our fingerprints are on every part of this society, yet we're still fighting to be seen, valued, and respected. So when someone like him makes the choice to not only unlearn, but to teach, that matters. Now, I'm not here to say he's a hero. This ain't about praising folks for doing the right thing late, but it is about showing what's possible when someone truly opens their heart, shuts down their ego, and listens. And honestly, he looks free, not because he's perfect now, but because he's finally on the right side of the truth. To me, that's a win, for him and for anyone he reaches. So let this be a reminder, change is possible, even if it takes 40 years. And if someone like him can see us, learn about us, and spread our truth, then imagine what could happen if more people had the courage to do the work. Stay aware, stay grounded, keep learning, and as always, thank you for watching.